Okay, so we are live. So I just want to say, everybody out there, you are watching another talk at the table with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. Today's topic is going to be a discussion on religion versus spirituality. And we're going to unpick some of the things there and really kind of go deep into what they mean to us and also how some of these things affect us and the way that they're shaping up in the modern world. As you can see, I have here the wonderful Samantha Gomez. She is a dear friend and probably the most qualified person to speak about such a subject. Sam is a Reiki practitioner, a coach. She has so much infinite wisdom to share with people. She's a truly enlightened and gifted soul, and I'm very, very chuffed and super honored to have you. So thank you for being a part of this for me. Sam, if you would like to introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Thank you so much. And Raphael, I am so excited to be doing this with you. It is an honor to work with you since we met. Oh my goodness, it's been a joy. And yes, we have the same passion, which is to enlighten the world and help others. And so I do have my own coaching and facilitation practice. I'm a personal development coach, as well as a career counselor. And so that's what I do sort of on the side. My mission is to help others to really, propel themselves forward beyond the barriers that hold them back, but beyond the fears, and to help them to really see, that they have the potential within them to overcome any obstacles that, they may feel stand in their way. So whether it's through the workshops that I facilitate, that I sometimes develop and present to people, or whether it's personal development coaching or leadership coaching, that's what I offer. So I'm delighted to help on this topic. A little bit about me. I was a former member of a religion that is known in some circles as a cult. It was a very oppressive religion for me. And from the age of 3 to 28, I was raised in this religion. And so through that experience, through coming out of that experience, because I was actually excommunicated from the faith, and I actually had to start from scratch and build friendships and overcome a lot of dogma and fears and, find myself again. Because I had hid myself and I had worn a mask, and inside there was this passionate woman that wanted to make a difference and had a very strong voice, but it had been silenced over the years, and my own values had been silenced. And so it took me time to overcome all of that to become the person I am today. And that's really what fuels me and I'm delighted to talk about this topic because and it's not that I'm not a proponent of religion at all. I respect people's faiths and I respect people's religions, as well as those that are spiritual. My key message is religion or spirituality should provide a freedom, a love, a health to people. And it should actually be a proponent of uniting the world. And that is what we're going to talk about, but that's basically my message. And what I stand for is it should allow you to create yourself and reinvent yourself, as opposed to oppressing who you are within.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sam. Do you know what? That was beautifully put. And actually, I think a lot of people are in a similar position at the moment. We live in this wonderful age where it's suddenly okay to be free, to be who you are and to express all of that. However, there are a lot of people that are still emerging from previous faiths and what they mean to them. I mean, it's an interesting point you make as well. For many of my subscribers, they also know that as a young child, I was raised Catholic, and then my mum became a born-again Christian. And that was quite a difficult transition for me. As a young person, you kind of take on board what you're given, right? And how you grow up with the people around you. You just accept that because you don't really know anything outside of it. Obviously, as I grew and became more spiritual in my approach to life, I started to question a lot of what was being I wouldn't say forced on me, but what was effectively kind of sometimes felt like being forced on me. And I think as you grow and become who you are, especially as a young person going into your teenage years, these are formative parts of your life where you are shaping and developing who you are. And I think those are the times where, oh, yes, it's good to have a strong hand on the tiller, right? If you're a teenager and you're off the rails, you need someone to bring you back. What we're trying to open up here is how sometimes these two things rub against each other. And it's true what you mentioned about freedom. I found it very hard to be who I felt I was supposed to be and stay within the confines of the religious parameters that had been placed on me. And one of the things that I found there through the religion, there was so much beauty in the piety of it, right? And when it was pure, right? And that's the spiritual aspect to religion. But when it got outside of that and it became dogmatic, there were moments where I thought, wow, okay, so I'm condemned to hell just because of who I might be or who I might love. That's a really difficult place to be in, especially if you're already feeling outside, if you're already feeling kind of separate from the masses, as it were, and then to be, shunned by your own community. And I know from your personal experience, you know deeply about that. So I want to open this up. What is religion to you, Sam? What do you feel about it? What do you think about it?
I think, well, if I was going to look at it ideally, I think that religion should, for me, when I was like you said, there's positive points and there's the perhaps the darker points that hold us back. But when I was truly trying to follow the religion, the one thing that I appreciated was the connection to source and the connection to God, be it source, energy, however, the universe, however people are more comfortable hearing about it. But for me, it was that connection to God, feeling that, I was able to communicate with God and that I was somehow contributing to the collective, to a greater purpose, helping others through that. And it was when I was connected to that, and like you said, when I wasn't trying to figure out, okay, I'm being told to do things that I don't necessarily agree with, or told to view a person or a group of people in a way that I'm not comfortable with because my heart and my intuition tell me that, that's not right. And how can I not love my colleague because they're LGBT when I can see that they're beautiful and they're godly in their own way? And so to me, religion is something that should allow for love, for expansion, also for a shift. A healthy religion is humble and allows you to shift in your perspective that maybe we don't have it quite right. Maybe we need to think about this. And that is where it's a healthy thing. And so myself, I don't consider myself religious. I'm spiritual, but I definitely have an appreciation and listen to Hindu mantras, and I appreciate different faiths for what they bring in the uniting of humanity.
Absolutely. So beautifully put and so eloquently put as well. Thank you for that. This is, I think, one of the things that we seem to have forgotten somewhere along the path, and this is why I mentioned the piety of religion. When it gives you that and it allows you to connect to the source, when it allows you to have that true connection with yourself and to allow others to have that connection and to see them as human beings, that's when I believe you're tapping into something. And, that's where religion and spirituality become the same thing. That's where the overlap takes place, which I think is beautiful. I think it's where the dogma then continues on from that path, that it can become restrictive, oppressive, and sometimes really painful to experience, especially if you don't see yourself as resonating with something that's supposed to be a core belief of what you're being taught. It really does open up a big question. And in terms of spirituality, just to give people the, you know, because I want people to know that we're discussing both of these topics, you can see that kind of behavior starting to permeate the spiritual community now as well. You know, almost like that holier than thou, or I've been through this, or I've done that. And it takes on a different, ilk, and one that actually kind of goes back down the same route of what most people are trying to escape from. So in terms of that and feeling, you know, held down and held back by religion, would you care to share some of what you might have experienced as you were coming out of it?
Definitely. I wanted to sort of share what sort of woke me up, because I think that's important. A lot of times it's sort of moments in time, if I can bring it back. I remember stepping into my closet and seeing all my clothing. And all my clothing was black, brown, and gray, and my skirts were long. And I remember looking for something to wear. And I started to cry because I realized that my closet, for the first time in my life, lacked color. It had no color. And I remember getting very emotional. I started to cry, and I thought, oh my goodness, what's happened to me? And it's those moments where you're triggered to, wow, something doesn't feel right. I don't feel myself. And so I would say it was a good couple years after that. It takes time, but it was a couple years after that where I decided that I could no longer live that life. And so in leaving that, I had to make a choice. I literally walked the beach. I talked to God, and I, said, you know what, you've put me here for a purpose. You've given me life to enjoy it to the fullest, and I cannot do it any longer representing this group. I'm not being myself, and I'm not happy. And so I sort of, in all respect, I said, God, let's make a deal. I will retain the values that I feel fit and that you would approve of, but I need to find my way. And I did so. It was a step-by-step process. You know me, I'm a bit of a spitfire. So with some things, I took it very, the religion I belonged to was not welcoming of any other faith. Every other faith was, something viewed as negative and to be shunned. And so I purposely actually attended the church that my family, down south attended. And I went to mass. And that for me was a huge deal. And I stepped into the church, and I prayed along with them. And it was a very healing thing. I actually spoke to a priest and was blessed by the priest. And we had a beautiful conversation. And I was able to witness for the first time, wow, you know what? He's a beautiful man, a very modern man, and a very open heart and an open thinker. And he said, you know what, regardless of whether the religion permits me or not, when it is my time and I decide to marry, I will marry. And it was so refreshing, and I just thought, wow, okay, there's other people that think like me that, for themselves, this doesn't work. And so navigating that, I think it was so important for me to test myself. Okay, you know what? I wasn't struck by lightning when I left the church, right? And that's part of it, because for me, it was, I'm going to die at Armageddon, right? Like, all these things are hated by God. And so I was terrified. There was a real fear. Mm-hmm. And so it was overcoming that and knowing that, a God of love, and if we truly believe, and most of the religions teach that God is a loving God, he's going to actually see us within that light and through the eyes of love. And I think of a mother or a father, ultimately, in a healthy place, they see that child no matter what that child does, right? Maybe they made a mess of the living room or whatever. They see them through the eyes of love. And that is how, in my opinion, God views us, no matter what our creed, our religion is. And so how I tested myself, I really did. And it was a slow process sometimes. Sometimes I rushed in, but it was mostly having a patience for myself that, you know what, I read so much. I read books. I wasn't going to take anything at face value anymore. And I was going to allow myself to create my own beliefs and to create my own, you know, how those beliefs fit in with my values, and are my values shifting? And it's okay to not have the answers. And I think if I can share one message, it's okay to not have the answers. It's okay to feel lost and confused, but know that you are not alone. And the beauty is life allows us the time to question these things and to be patient and loving with yourself. Stick to what feels good. And then, you know, like I joined a yoga class, and that for me, again, a very big step, you know, and I started attending yoga. Wow, meditation wasn't evil, and I wasn't going to be penetrated. Like my thoughts weren't going to be penetrated, or I wasn't going to be attacked with demons because I was opening my mind.
Yeah.
I was actually connecting to God. And it was a way where I could connect to God without religion, without a mediator, or any of those things, because we are God-like.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Again, very eloquently put. Thank you. I have to agree with that. I've, in the past, many of you know me for tarot reading and astrology and numerology. That's what I do. And I've had people actually come to me and say, oh, I don't feel like I should be here, or maybe I shouldn't be getting a reading. And it's like, I believe that the gift that I've been given to see things or to give information to people is exactly that. It's not something that I went out to, to get with a pact from the devil or anything like that. It's something that was given to me by the all that is, that I'm extremely grateful for. And very humbled by. And sometimes if I am the vessel that the message needs to come through, then I am proud to be so, and I do so with all humbleness. I think this is the other thing as well. As you start to emerge religious parameters and dogmatic patterns, I remember so many slammed doors arguments with my mum. We had a difficult time of trying to traverse that stuff. And I think it can be a really troubling experience when you're coming out of that, because you start to question, like you said, am I making the right decision? And if I'm not, then does that really mean that, and there were moments where I just resigned myself and said, well, you know what, because of who I am or what I feel or whatever, I might be going to the bad place anyway. So, I'm just going to have to resign myself to that fact. And I think as you start to wake up to what life is, to have your own spiritual awakening, you start to realize, we've all heard the meme, religion is for people that are afraid of going to hell, and spirituality is for people that who've already been there, right?
I laugh because I can resonate to that in some ways, right?
Yeah, right. And I think the only thing that I would probably add to that is that if you can keep the spiritual aspect of it, much like the priest that you mentioned, I preach a lot of love and light. I understand that life isn't always that, but I always try to walk in that space and come from that point. With the guy that said, you know what, when the time comes, I'm going to get married. You can stay within what your faith allows, but it's okay to broaden your horizons and your perspectives on that. And I think it's important that we do, because the world itself, every single day, is shifting and changing. And if we hold on to some outmoded or outdated beliefs, it puts people in separate compartments. And that's not what a human race or a family is supposed to look like. It's not us and them. It's just us. We're not a me, we're a we, right? There's all of us in the one wider world community. So why not take down some of the barriers and understand that actually our differences can probably reveal to us just how much similarity there is between us. I think that's really, really important. And I think this whole thing of feeling on the outside and emerging from something of that nature, it makes you a lot stronger. And I think it's actually a part of the path of spiritual awakening, to realize, okay, I had to be on my own for a while to figure this stuff out between me and the universe, God, Allah, Buddha, Chi, whatever you want to call it. I had to have that time to be on my own, to converse with the all, so that when I come out of it, I understand people better, that I love them more because I love myself more. It's a really powerful way to do it. And sometimes it can be a really rocky and lonely path, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's funny. I remember when I was first leaving the religion, my father wasn't a part of it. He was raised Catholic, and he said to me, you know, Samantha, what are you going to do now? You know, what religion are you going to belong to? You know, you should belong to a religion. And he was truly concerned, as were some of my family. You know, you've got to, you know, you might lose your way. And we hear that, you know, people that leave that religion because they were so stifled, you're going to go off and you're going to become this crazy person and you're going to fall into on the wayside, and you don't have friends. So now you might, you know, befriend people that are not, you know, the best company. And I remember looking at them and I just thought, you know, my God, like I'm 28 years old, right? If I haven't succumbed to drugs and vices now at this point, I'm not going
probably not going to happen.
And that was, I mean, God bless them. Like I get it, but at the same time, part of it is you retain the values, right? And it's okay. I think the most important thing that I want to share is you're not a bad person because you make a different choice. And just because you choose to leave, it does not make you a bad person. It makes you more awake and aware. And all you're saying is this no longer works for me. And I'll tell you from experience. So when I was being excommunicated, I had a short period of time to where I had time to say goodbye to my friends, my closest friends. And it was a very difficult process. Some of them could understand what I was going through, or at least tried within their own beliefs and values. It was obviously very complex because I was telling them, you know, I've chosen to go this way and, you know, I'm not coming back. And you know, I got everything from you're following Satan and you're leaving us, it's selfish, and you're following Satan and you're gonna die at Armageddon, and okay, that was, you know, I approached them and that was their view, right? To others that, oh my God, just please come back, like live your life, whatever you need to do, but please come back and repent. And, you know, I cannot repent from living my life. And so that's the thing, is I don't feel bad. At the time I did. I felt guilt for a long time. If I ever had any challenges in life, and this is it, don't attack yourself. Sometimes if I had, you know, and God bless, there was a friend of mine that I had a particularly bad time and I was talking to, and I had a total meltdown. I just started to sob and I said, you know, this is all my fault. It's because I left the religion and this is God punishing me. And, you know, you're going to have those moments and it's not God punishing you. Life is a roller coaster ride. And so know that when disappointments happen, it's not that you're being disgraced. It's life. And through that, I was able to see, okay, you know what, realistically, I'm doing better today than I ever have been. And I was able to prove myself both in abundance, but also in my soul, in my heart, in the friends I have. Had I not left that religion and that faith and that way of life, I would have never appreciated what it was to love myself, to know myself, to know that within I have values and I have principles that no one from the outside can push me to go against. For example, harming another, you know, all those things. And those were things that I could not have, right? I couldn't, like, there was a lot of different things. So it's a gift, you know, it's a gift to be able to be yourself and to make those choices. And it's not going to be an easy ride, but it will be worthwhile.
Absolutely. I think therein comes the next point that I'd like to touch on. I mean, it's said so many times nowadays, and I think it's become a throwaway term. You know, we have the gift of free will. We wouldn't have it if it wasn't there to be utilized. I really do truly believe that, you know, and it is a gift to be able to choose for yourself, to be able to fashion a life that feels right and harmonious to you. And ultimately, you know, the fundamental truth of the whole thing is as human beings, we all want the same things. We all want people to care for. We all want people to care for us. We want the place that we live in to be nice, to be decent. And I'm not talking about, plush things and all the rest of it. Yes, that's nice. But I mean the environment where you can walk down the street and it's safe and people know you and you feel that sense of community. It's really important. I mean, if you delve into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, one of them is community, right? Of having people. And I think one of the issues that we may experience with religion is it creates community, it creates this idea of God is love, but it comes with conditions. And that's not real love, in my opinion. When it comes with conditions, or it has to look like this, or it has to be that, then you need to ask yourself on a conscious level and on a deep soul level, does this work for me? And does it allow me to grow and to change and to be, and actually to love people regardless? I heard a guy say once, and this really stuck with me. I actually worked in a care home some years ago. And I tell you, some of those people, they may not have speech, they may not have ways of overtly communicating, but the soul, the glow in the eyes, there is, they understand things on levels that we probably never will in this lifetime. Beautiful to see. But I remember one of the other care workers said, I'm not really bothered about what people's religions are. You've got an iPhone, I've got an Android, but they both still do the same thing. And I thought to myself, do you know what? How simple, but how brilliant is that? And I think one thing we touched on before is how important, or rather how dangerous it is in not having the dialogue, right? In just shutting yourself away.
Or having permission to have the dialogue. Yeah, because that's absolutely the biggest thing. Anytime you are prevented, like you said, we are given free will. So anytime I'm prevented from having a dialogue that, I actually have trouble with this that we're being told. Right? And where you cannot form an objection to it, you got to kind of think something's not right.
Yeah.
Right? Because in life, children are born to question why? And when it's not good enough, why? I don't get it. And they don't agree. And there's nothing you can do to convince a child not to agree.
Nope.
If we observe children and animals, we'll get it straight.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And very, very true. Something you said to me a while back that I really want people to hear is if a belief system triggers or moves you to cruelty or unkind behavior or anything but love, then it's nullified itself, or it's gone too far one way. I think that's an amazing point that you made. Do you want to kind of expand that for us?
Absolutely. And I do want to address the fact that these things come subtly. You and I have talked about it's like smoke in the night. When we're sleeping, we don't smell it, or you don't, and it comes and it's deadly, right? It has consequences. If you don't wake up, if you don't smell the smoke, you're not going to realize when you are at that point where it's too far gone. And so I have to say that, unfortunately, even today, there are some religions where the teachings are insidious. It comes slowly. So yes, at first you enter into that religion, and yes, they preach love. Yes, they give you that community. Yes, but in turn, are they asking you to then suddenly start to separate yourself from family, from friends that are not believers? Are you being asked to go against certain people, perhaps the LGBT community, for their choices, or perhaps a certain country that you don't believe in, and the minute those ideas start to perpetuate in your mind, never underestimate the strength of those ideas. I mean, I've done a lot of work on changing my beliefs, and all we have to do is hear the same message 21 days consecutively in a row, and that forms a belief in a pattern.
Absolutely. Not
and
to
we
mention,
need to take that seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention whatever else is being used to reinforce that message. And sometimes anyway, please continue.
So it's smoke in the night, right? I mean, the key is we are given, and you are a powerful manifestor of this. We are given that intuitive guide, that intuitive voice. That is God, spirit given. When we're told to shut that down, our psychic ability, all that, and we're told, no, you are only to listen to what comes forth from this group or from this channel, you got to question it. Yeah. Does it feel right? And you're like, for me, it's my solar plexus. The minute in my solar plexus, my belly, I feel something's not right, I now trust it because I learned. And so we are given that. If it doesn't feel right, you need to question it and you need to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think this is where I want to now kind of go into this whole idea that it kind of feels that way, you know, and it's true what you say, like it's a subtle smoke in the night. And I think one of the things that I really want to unpick, and this isn't this isn't a witch hunt. I don't want to go after this person. I just want to highlight what I believe was could have been handled better about it. So we've all heard about, and I don't want to mention any names, a certain person who has recently come forward and said, you know, if you do any of these things, if you read cards, if you're into angels and all of this stuff and all of this new age stuff, you're following demons, you're going to hell, and you should repent, and you should now, you know, follow what I'm going on to do, or what I'm going on to be. Now, I don't mind people switching faiths. It happens every single day. That's the beauty of life. That's the whole point of what we've been talking about, right? Is that you have this beautiful God-given right to choose what you want to be, who you want to be, and how that expression takes hold of, how that expression is put out to the world, right? If you want to change, please do. Don't then turn around to the millions of people that you made a lot of money from. Let's be honest, right? Let's take everything else out of it and call it a business, right? You made a lot of money out of those people that you coaxed out of their shell to say, well, actually, if I'm into this stuff, maybe I can weave this with my faith, and actually maybe I can trust my intuition, and maybe I can open this up a bit. A lot of these people will have been, you know, very sort of anti and have taken their time to really build that connection with, okay, I can still have my religion and be spiritual. And on top of that, because really the basis of religion is supposed to be spirituality, right? And on top of that, I can converse with angels. I can speak to, you know, the universe and create things, you know, and interact with the world in a completely different way. You coax these people out, held their hand down the garden path and brought them through the gate, then run back through the gate, shut the gate, and screamed, now you're going to hell. That is, for me, to see that, I was really, really disappointed and very, very sad for the millions of people who had probably, you know, it had taken them a while to go through this, and then suddenly to have that thrown at you by the person that took you there. That, you know, could be really, really hurtful and actually quite damaging. You know, it really upset me. And like I said, I thought, you know what, if you want to change, if you want to do things differently, or you like to take on a different faith, that's great. Why not transition it and take a moment and say, you know what, this no longer resonates with me. Thank you for all of you that have been on this journey with me, but I'm going elsewhere. To do it that way. And it does feel like a, I'm actually not going to say that word because it's a bit too deep, but I was going to say it feels a bit more like a, yeah, you know what, I'm going to say it anyway. If anyone that knows me knows this, I'm Raph. It feels like a political swing. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it was probably a bad word for it. It just feels like it was like there's an agenda behind it, you know? Yeah. And that really, for me, was very upsetting. So it's interesting you touch on that. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. No, it's interesting you touch on that because we've conversed about this before, and I think we are all given gifts. And this particular person has the gift of charisma, the gift of influence. And I have to say, the most important thing that we need to remember, all of us collectively, is we are given this voice of influence, this charisma.
it comes with great responsibility. Because if I now am on this video, and who knows how many people are going to be watching, right? The use of words, words are powerful. And so you and I have talked about the ego. The minute that, you know, you have one of these preachers on the pulpit and they move beyond using that gift to promote peace, to promote unity, and to promote what is good and what is loving about humanity and our connection to one another and our connection to source or God. The minute you start to shift into your ego and you have your own agenda and you want to create hate, or you want to create affluence for yourself, or it becomes a very selfish thing where, you know what, yes, you might have bought my cards, you might have taken my courses, but I'm telling you now, you must shift. You got to check it.
Yeah.
Because you are impacting lives. Sorry, I'm getting emotional because there are millions of people that follow you, and that comes with responsibility. You know, we need to check ourselves as to the messages that we are giving. And if we find ourselves, because no one's perfect, if we find ourselves overstepping where, you know what, I'm telling this person how they should believe and how they should act, and that's not my right, then we need to really have a walk in nature and really think about why we're doing what we do.
Boom. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable like that. I really felt that. And it's so
Who I am.
It's so true. And I think, you know, this whole idea of people following you, it's so true. And what you're saying about words there, they really captivate people. What you say and how you say it and how you deliver it, it's really, really important. And it's true what you say when people are following you in some way, shape, or form, how you utilize that attention, you know, it's really, really important. I love what you said about taking a moment in nature to really reconnect and recalibrate yourself, because something about your approach right now is slightly off. Anyway, you know, like I said, I don't want to mention names, and I don't want to. It's not about a witch hunt. I just wanted to unpack what's actually happened there and how it's been perceived, you know, and to move into the idea of spirituality. We've talked about this before as well. You know, spirituality is big business. It really is, right? And it's becoming, you know, it's the term itself has become a capital. You know, it's become almost like a throwaway term. You know, it's like, oh well, I'm spiritual. Well, what does that actually mean to you? For me, you know, spirituality is religion free of dogma, right? It's that aspect of you connecting to something greater than yourself that allows you to be all of that allows you to be all of that for other people, to other people, and to utilize all of your God-given talents, gifts, and abilities in order to make the world a better place. You know, one thing I've said, and I'm sure you've heard me say this before, I love what I do on my channel. I love that I get to speak to so many people. But for me, the real work is done here at the table. For every person that I interact with one-on-one, whether it's, you know, whatever session they put in with me, that's where my real work is done. And that is how I change the world, right? By making sure that I show up in the best way for those people. You know, and with the spotlight, absolutely. I'm so glad to be shining one on you, because you are a truly beautiful soul, and I'm so grateful that you've come on to talk about this. As I said, people, you can hear it in the very words that she uses. Sam is very qualified to talk about this subject, and I really do feel that it's important to open up. When it comes to spirituality, there we go, all gone, I think.
We're here.
Okay. It was like something ringing in my ears. I was like, what's that?
Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of spirituality, how do you believe that it can enhance life, or how do you believe that it, and I use this word very sparingly. You will have seen this in my videos. I never use the word should, and if I do, I always give myself a conscious smack on the hand, because you're right, we shouldn't be telling anybody what they should or shouldn't. We offer guidance and support, but never anything more.
Yes. So your question was about spirituality.
Yeah, how do you believe that it can enhance life?
So I think, and it's interesting, for me, spirituality is, it can be as simple as, leaning up against a tree and just being in nature, and I think spirituality is actually very simple. It's connection, right? And I think, you don't need, I remember the scripture back from my biblical days, but that God does not reside in man-made buildings or something like that, or man-made. And I very much think that you don't need to attend a certain building or to go to a certain place to connect. We were born with that connection.
Yeah.
And that doesn't leave us, I'm sure that, all of us have had what they call the dark night of the soul, where there's those moments where we feel completely alone in our world, where the challenges of life crushing us to where we are on our knees, perhaps in prayer, perhaps, I'm at my wit's end. And somehow there is that connection, that energetic little light of strength, or your phone rings, or someone contacts you. Don't underestimate that there is power behind that. There is love behind that being channeled to you, saying, I got your back. Yeah. And so spirituality, I see it as a very simple thing that we've made very complicated and hard to reach. And I think that that's the danger of spirituality and religion, is where they're teaching you, you must do this, or if you don't tune into this video and you miss it, oh my goodness, the timing we're going through right now, you're not going to be able to make it. You know what? God, universe, source has your back, whether you pay attention or you go to church that Sunday, or whether you tune into that astrological video and you figure out what's going on. And I'm into astrology, so I can say that I even need to check myself. You know what? It's okay that you don't watch that video, because you know what? You've got an inner guidance and you've got a 24-hour connection to God. And so for me, spirituality is taking that time in silence and connecting, slowing myself down, ridding myself of the ego, and just, okay, what is really going on? And, I'll share one little idea that I do that helps me connect if I'm really struggling. So I heard this, I'm trying to think, Conversations with God was a very powerful book that helped me immensely. And it was, he talked about how he was able to channel source to write the book. The author, I can't remember the author's name, forgive me, but Conversations with God, it's a great book. And so I adjusted his theory on doing it. And what I do is at night or in a quiet place, I'll take my journal and I'll take 3 deep breaths, and I'll just sort of get into a quiet place. You could have music in the background if that works for you. Quiet music, relaxing music. And I take 3 deep breaths and I write a question that I need guidance on. And then whatever comes, I write. Don't question it. You just write until you stop. And you don't question it, you don't analyze it, you just write. And you will be amazed at the powerful answers that are given to you. And if it doesn't come right away, keep practicing, it's okay. But it takes time to channel that, because we're not used to being told that, we have that connection eternally and without blockages, right? For everything in this world, we think we have to pay for. Well, I have to go to church to connect to God. I have to do this to connect. No, the channel is always open. Are we open?
Aha. Yes, yes, yes. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much. That was so beautifully put, and so wise as well. You know, appreciation of beauty. When you look at the natural world, it can be waves, it can be the grass, it can be animals, it can be anything that gives you that excitement within you to say, that is beautiful. I need give nothing to it. I need even not even touch it. I can just admire that it is perfect and beautiful as it is. That is enough to connect you to source, right? Which is why you've heard me say to you even so many times, go and put your toes in the grass, go and put your toes in the sand if you can.
And I
Right?
do.
Yes, you do. I know you do. And those moments, they really are enough to connect you. I truly believe that. Wonderful, wonderful practice. Thank you for giving that to people. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that will benefit from it. And also, I think what you've touched on there that's really important is spirituality takes away from the middleman and says, you don't need that. You have a spirit.
Practiced properly. If spirituality is practiced properly, because like you said, we're turning it into dogma again.
Yeah, and you know, and a business and a holier than thou, and for sure, right? You know, if you're taking out the middleman and you trust that your soul, that your spirit has a connection to source, that's spirituality. And I love the fact that you mentioned that it truly is so simple. One of my practices every morning, and I really do catch myself, like if I haven't done it for a day or 2 days, I'm like, Raf, no, that's not good enough. I have actively got into the practice of every morning, before I even open my eyes or reach for the phone or any of that stuff, I woke up, thank you. I have air. I slept last night in a home. You know, I have enough money to feed myself. I went to bed clothed. I went to bed fed. There's such small, simple things, but that simplicity offers so much power. And the gratitude for that simplicity, it amplifies, you know, when we talk about manifesting and all of that stuff. And I know for a fact, and I'll tell all of you this, Sam is a master manifester. When she's ready to bring something into her
Sometimes.
I think it's all a case of when you're truly ready for something, because I've seen work, literal personal miracles, and it's been fascinating to watch. So thank you for that. I guess the last question, my dear Samari, and I can't wait to hear you come up with, is where do we go from here?
Well, I think that's the beautiful part, is really it's up to every person watching this to decide. And we don't have to know all the answers. You know, it's interesting. I had a conversation with one of my coaching clients, and I use the metaphor of, you know, because a lot of times we're so hard on ourselves as to, I'm not progressing hard enough. And when we face a setback, or maybe we feel that we've sort of stepped off our game, we're so hard on ourselves. And I said, you know, when you look at nature, and I always go back to that because I learned so much from my walks in nature. When you look at nature, do we see a flower bloom before us? Like when you look at that seed, so that seed, I'm in Canada, so we have, you know, real winter. And in the spring, you don't see anything but like mud and darkness, and, you know, everything is happening beneath the surface. And I think the important thing to know is the most growth happens in silence within you. It's not the external practice. It's not that people can see, oh, wow, you're doing so much better. No. Growth, look at nature, happens in silence. Those seeds, those little flowers. And then before you know it, we go a couple days later, oh my God, there's crocuses. And you're all excited. Yeah. Like spring is coming. And so that is how it happens. Be patient. Anything that we try to rush has no success. Everything nature shows us. Divinity has a process, and it does not rush, and it is slow, and it is perfect in its timing. So where do we go from here? If you truly want to connect to yourself, you truly want to connect to others, and you truly want to connect to divinity, source, follow your intuition, follow your guide. You have innate principles that would not allow you, if you are a healthy person, mind, body, soul, spirit, that would not allow you to hurt another one, another person, and would not allow you to, come down on another person if you see them struggling. Like the one thing I always, and I still do, I loved the accounts of Jesus. When you look at Jesus and what he taught, he did not judge people for their religion. And look at who he invited to in his company. The woman at the well where he met, she had how many men in her life, and she was not living a life that was congruent to biblical teachings. But did he condemn her? No. He loved her. He felt love for her. And so that is, to me, where we go from here. Are our hearts open enough? Because that's the key, is where does my heart sit? If I'm holding on to all these barriers and I'm not allowing myself to love, and I'm not allowing love in, then we're not going to be able to feel that spirituality and connect to that divinity. So it's really getting into our heart space and remembering who we are, because we were born without prejudice. We were born to laugh, to love, to give, to share, to play in life. And that, for me, is the gift that life is.
Absolutely. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think you're 100% on it. That really is, I can't add anything to it. I really can't. It was perfect. I think your intuition is inbuilt. It's there. It's God-given, just like your free will. Where we go from here. I have a vision in my mind of a time where we don't have any of the barriers and the borders to life, let alone anything else, where
Right.
the things that are important is who we are and what we're about and how we support each other. When that comes, and I believe it will come in our lifetime.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I really do see a bigger and better time for it. And I think one last thing to add to that is, if you're in that point of transition of stepping out of something and into your own spirituality and learning and understanding about yourself and about those innate gifts and guides that you have, trust them. If they are given to you by source, they can never lead you wrong. Sometimes it might not make sense. Sometimes it might kind of, it might be a winding and twisting path, but it will never, ever steer you wrong. You can trust yourself, because by trusting yourself, you open yourself up to hearing the source. I truly, truly believe that. Sam, please tell people how they can reach you. How can they get hold of you? I'm going to put a link in the description box below so that you can all contact Sam. Go and get a session. I'm telling you, it will be life-changing. But Sam, please tell us how people can get hold of you.
Thank you. Well, you can reach me at samanthagomez.ca. That's my website. It's under construction, but you can email me there. So it's just one word, Samantha Gomez with a Z.ca, and you can email me, or at coach@samanthagomez.ca. So that's coach, all one, and then at Samantha Gomez, all one word, .ca. And I'm happy to, be part of your journey in life if you feel so called to work with me. But Raph, I have to thank you so much. And again, I want to actually speak to the amount of help that Raph has been on my journey, helping me to overcome the fears. And maybe this is one thing that we didn't address, is sometimes you need help. And sometimes you can't do it alone. And so did I talk to therapists? Absolutely. Did I talk to, I worked with Raph on overcoming abundance blocks and overcoming blocks that held me back from trusting, from being able to, attract the kind of relationship that I'm looking for, to attract the kind of friends I'm looking for. Because when you've lost it all and you've been told that things come with conditions, you very much protect your heart. And so you need to sometimes ask for help, and that's okay. It helps make you stronger, and it's a strong person that seeks out help. So again, I want to just pitch in for Raph, because his hypnosis, his forward life regression, has helped me so much. The Tribal Tuesday was remarkable. I was blessed to be a part of that. Thank you so much. And it helped me immensely to see where I was holding myself back. And so again, thank you all so much for watching. And Raf, thank you so much for allowing me to be on this video with you. It's been a blessing.
Oh, to me too. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for speaking. Thank you for being so open with all of your knowledge and everything that you shared as well. It really means a lot, guys. Hit the like button, please comment, contact Sam if you get a moment, if you've got a word or there's something that you want to work on. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of the Radiant Reality community. You know I love and appreciate every single one of you. Take care, and I will see you soon.